Welcome to a deep dive into the world of Alan Turing. Get ready, because today we're exploring the life of a true legend, drawing fascinating insights from excerpts of his biography. We're talking mathematician, computer scientist, logician, cryptanalyst, philosopher, and theoretical biologist. Talk about a resume.
What's truly captivating about Turing is how his brilliance transcended disciplines. He wasn't just leaving his mark on one field, he was revolutionizing multiple fields, weaving this incredible tapestry of knowledge.
It's almost like he saw connections others couldn't, using his mathematical lens to unlock mysteries across the board. Now, the biography highlights how Turing's genius was evident from a young age. I mean, to be called a genius by your own headmistress, that's not your average school report.
It speaks volumes about his inherent aptitude. Though imagine young Turing at Sherborne School, a place steeped in tradition and focus on classical education. His passion for math and science wasn't always met with the same enthusiasm, which honestly isn't all that surprising.
It's that classic tale of a brilliant mind not quite fitting into the conventional box, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But within those walls, he forged a deep connection with Christopher Morcom, a friendship that profoundly impacted him.
They were kindred spirits united by their love for science and mathematics. Tragically, Morcom's death from bovine tuberculosis had a devastating effect on Turing.
Absolutely.
The biography actually includes a poignant excerpt from Turing's letter to Morcom's mother, where he vows to continue their shared pursuit of knowledge with the same energy they both possessed. It's both heartbreaking and incredibly inspiring.
It really underscores the depth of their bond and how Morcom's influence continued to shape Turing's path. Even years later, Turing maintained correspondence with Morcom's mother, sending heartfelt letters, especially on Morcom's birthday.
Talk about a lasting legacy. And this drive to push boundaries, to delve deeper into the unknown, is something we see throughout Turing's life. From Sherborne, he went on to King's College, Cambridge, where unsurprisingly he thrived.
He didn't just thrive, he excelled. Earning first-class honors in mathematics is impressive in itself. But he was also awarded a fellowship, a testament to his exceptional abilities. Even his dissertation, which proved a version of the central limit theorem, stood out. While a similar version existed, Turing's approach was uniquely original.
So even when covering familiar ground, he brought a fresh perspective, revealing new insights along the way. It's like he was wired to innovate, to challenge the status quo. And this becomes even more apparent in his work on computability.
This is where we see Turing grapple with the Entscheidungs problem, the decision problem posed by David Hilbert. It was a challenge in mathematical logic that essentially asked, can we create an algorithm to determine if any given mathematical statement is provable?
Okay, I'll admit, Entscheidung's problem sounds a bit like something out of a science fiction novel. Can you break it down for us non-mathematicians?
Imagine you have a mathematical statement, any statement. The decision problem asks if there's a foolproof way, a set of instructions, to determine if that statement can be proven true or false. What Turing and Alonzo Church independently proved was that no, such a universal algorithm doesn't exist.
So there are some mathematical mysteries we just can't solve with a simple formula. That's both fascinating and a little unsettling.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting. To even approach this problem, Turing conceived of these theoretical machines, now known as Turing machines. Picture a simple device capable of performing logical operations based on a predefined set of instructions.
So not a physical computer, but more like a conceptual blueprint for what a computer could be.
Precisely. It was a revolutionary concept that formed the foundation of theoretical computer science, and it gets even wilder. He then envisioned a universal machine, now known as the Universal Turing Machine, which could simulate any other Turing machine. Essentially, he was saying if a mathematical problem can be solved through a series of steps, this machine could, in theory, solve it.
Whoa. It's like he was laying the groundwork for modern computing decades before the technology even existed. That's pretty mind-blowing.
It's a concept that has huge implications captured by the Church-Turing thesis. This thesis essentially states that anything computable, anything solvable through an algorithm, can be done by a universal Turing machine.
So in a way, he was setting the boundaries of what's possible in the realm of computation.
Exactly. And this thirst for pushing boundaries led him to Princeton for his PhD, where he delved further into abstract concepts. His thesis, titled Systems of Logic Based on Ordinals, introduced the idea of ordinal logic and relative computing.
Okay, I'm sensing a pattern here. Turing seems to thrive on taking complex problems and then finding these elegant and sometimes mind-bending solutions.
You're absolutely right. And this intellectual fearlessness is evident in his interactions with Ludwig Wittgenstein at Cambridge. Imagine these two brilliant minds debating the very foundation of mathematics. Turing advocating for formalism and Wittgenstein arguing that math is more about invention than discovery.
Seriously, that's a conversation I would love to have witnessed. But as Turing continued to explore these theoretical realms, the world was on the brink of war. And like so many others, his life took a dramatic turn when World War II erupted.
His unique skills and way of thinking suddenly became incredibly valuable. He found himself recruited to Bletchley Park, a top-secret hub where brilliant minds were working tirelessly to crack Nazi Germany's infamous Enigma code.
And this is where Turing's story becomes the stuff of legends, right?
Absolutely. But to truly appreciate his contributions, we need to understand the Enigma machine itself. It was an incredibly complex cipher machine the Germans used to encrypt their military communications.
So more than just a simple secret code.
Oh, much more. The Enigma machine used a series of rotors, each with unique wiring to scramble letters. And these rotors would rotate with every keystroke, changing the encryption pattern constantly.
That sounds like a nightmare to decipher. No wonder the Allies were struggling to break it.
The number of possible settings was astronomical, making brute force almost impossible. Plus, the Germans changed the settings daily just to add another layer of complexity.
It sounds like they were determined to make life difficult for codebreakers.
There certainly were. But Turing, never one to back down from a challenge, saw this as an opportunity to apply his unique problem-solving skills. And that's where the bomb comes in. A machine he designed specifically to crack Enigma.
Ah, yes. The bomb. It's almost as legendary as the Enigma machine itself, but how on earth did it work?
It was a stroke of genius, really.
Yeah.
The bomb was designed to simulate the Enigma machine itself, but at a much faster pace. It would take a crib, a guessed fragment of plain text, and test it against thousands of possible Enigma settings.
So like trying to fit a key into a lock, but on a massive electromechanical scale?
Exactly. If a contradiction popped up during the test, the bomb would eliminate that setting. So a process of elimination powered by logic and Turing's deep understanding of both math and the Enigma's workings.
What I find fascinating is that this wasn't just some solitary endeavor. He was working with a team of brilliant minds, all collaborating under immense pressure.
You're right. It was a true team effort, and they weren't afraid to go straight to the top when they needed more resources. There's this incredible anecdote about Turing and his fellow codebreakers, Welchman Alexander and Milner Berry, writing directly to Winston Churchill, highlighting the urgency of their work.
And Churchill, known for his decisive leadership, didn't hesitate, did he?
Not at all. His response was immediate and emphatic. Action this day. Make sure they have all they want on extreme priority and report to me that this has been done. That's the kind of support that can change the course of history.
It definitely shows how vital code breaking had become in the war effort. But even with Churchill's backing and the bomb Turing wasn't done innovating, he developed something called Ban-Barismus, right? What was that all about?
Think of it as adding another layer of intelligence to the bomb. Ban-Barismus was a statistical technique Turing devised to make the bomb even more efficient. Instead of randomly testing Enigma settings, Ban-Barismus analyzed patterns in the encrypted messages, narrowing down the possibilities.
So it was like giving the bomb a roadmap, making it a more strategic weapon in the fight against Enigma.
A brilliant analogy. But Turing's focus wasn't solely on Enigma. He also played a critical role in cracking the Lorenz cipher, which the Germans used for high-level communications.
Wasn't the Lorenz cipher even more complex than Enigma?
Oh, absolutely. They used a teleprinter rotor cipher attachment, codenamed Tunny, at Bletchley Park. To tackle this beast, Turing developed a technique known as Turingery, which, like Ban-Barismus, involved identifying and exploiting patterns in the cipher's output. His work was instrumental in developing Colossus, the world's first programmable electronic computer.
Wait, Colossus. Wasn't that developed by Tommy Flowers and Max Newman?
That's right. Turing wasn't directly involved in building Colossus, but his work on statistical approaches like Ban-Barismus and Turingery laid the foundation. It was his way of thinking, his ability to see patterns and find creative solutions that paved the way for this monumental leap forward in computing.
It's incredible how Turing's influence rippled outward, shaping not just code breaking, but also the future of technology itself. But amidst all this groundbreaking work, we can't forget the human side of the story.
You're absolutely right. Turing was more than just a brilliant mind. He was a complex individual with his own quirks and passions.
Like his love of running. I read that he would run long distances, even competing at a near Olympic level. Apparently, he saw it as a way to de-stress from the intense work at Bletchley Park.
It's a testament to his mental resilience, this ability to switch gears from cracking codes to pushing his physical limits. Welcome back to our deep dive into the life of Alan Turing. It's incredible to think that we're only just scratching the surface of his impact.
I know, right? Last time we were talking about his work at Bletchley Park, but there are so many layers to his code-breaking genius and how it shaped World War II. It's mind-boggling.
You're right. His work at Bletchley Park was absolutely pivotal. Just imagine a world where the Allies didn't have access to those crucial Enigma decryptions.
It's a chilling thought, a real sliding doors moment in history. But before we go down that rabbit hole, let's rewind a bit for those who might just be tuning in. Can you give us a crash course on the Enigma machine? What made it so notoriously difficult to crack?
Imagine this, a typewriter hooked up to a series of rotors with intricate wiring. Each time you press a key, these rotors spin and scramble the letters, turning a simple message into an indecipherable mess. The Germans used this machine, the Enigma, to encrypt their military communications.
Okay, that's more complex than a simple substitution cipher, right?
Way more. Think about it. Each rotor has different wiring, and their positions change with every keystroke. The number of possible settings was absolutely astronomical, making it virtually impossible to crack through brute force alone.
So like trying to solve a giant, constantly changing jigsaw puzzle, no wonder it was giving the Allies such a headache.
Exactly. And to make matters worse, the Germans were meticulous about security. They changed the Enigma settings every single day, adding another layer of complexity. It was a code breaker's worst nightmare.
But as we discussed earlier, Turing and his team weren't just any code breakers. They weren't going to let a little thing like an unbreakable code stand in their way. They found ways to exploit weaknesses in the system, thinking outside the box, and streamlining the whole process.
It was a combination of ingenuity, mathematical prowess, and a touch of genius. Turing's bomb, which we talked about in the last part, was a game changer. But let's dig a little deeper into its inner workings. Remember those cribs we mentioned? Those educated guesses of plaintext fragments?
Yeah, like common military terms or phrases that might appear in a message.
Exactly. Turing's bomb was designed to test those cribs against thousands of potential Enigma settings, essentially simulating the Enigma itself. But at warp speed, now the bomb was built on logic, if a setting produced a contradiction, let's say a letter was encrypted back into itself, which was impossible with Enigma, the bomb would automatically eliminate that setting.
So it was a high-stakes game of logic powered by this incredible electromechanical marvel.
Precisely. And speed was crucial. The bomb could churn through thousands of settings per minute, drastically cutting down the time it took to crack the code.
But even with the bomb working its magic, it wasn't always smooth sailing for Turing and his team, right? Remember that story about the letter they sent to Churchill pleading for more resources?
It's a testament to their dedication and understanding of the gravity of the situation. They knew that to keep up with the Germans, they needed more manpower, more bombs, and more support. They couldn't afford to fall behind in this race against time.
And thankfully, Churchill being the decisive leader, he was recognized the urgency of their request that action this day. Memo wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a turning point in the war effort.
Absolutely. Churchill's immediate action highlights just how crucial code breaking had become. But let's not forget, Turing wasn't just about brute force code breaking. He was always looking for ways to refine the process to make it even smarter. That's where Banburismus comes into play.
Yes, Banburismus. Honestly, the names of some of these techniques sound like spells from a Harry Potter book, but what was it about?
Think of Banburismus as adding a layer of strategic thinking on top of the bomb's raw power. It was all about optimization. Turing, the brilliant statistician, he was realized they could analyze patterns in the encrypted messages. These patterns, often subtle and hidden in plain sight, could help them predict which Enigma settings were more likely to be correct.
So instead of just blindly testing settings, they could focus the bomb's efforts on the most promising options, like giving it a cheat sheet.
It's exactly. Banburismus allowed them to narrow down the possibilities, saving precious time and resources in the process. It was about working smarter, not just harder.
And this analytical mindset wasn't limited to Enigma, right? Turing also played a pivotal role in cracking the Lorenz cipher, which was used by the German High Command. Now, from what I remember, the Lorenz cipher was even more complex than Enigma. We're talking next-level code breaking.
It was a whole different beast. The Lorenz cipher used a teleprinter rotor cipher attachment, codenamed Tunny by the codebreakers at Bletchley Park. It was designed to encrypt communications between the German High Command and their army groups, so you can imagine the level of security involved.
The stakes were incredibly high. They needed a way to crack this code and fast.
And they did. Turing never won to shy away from a challenge. Developed a technique specifically designed to target the Lorenz cipher. They called it Turingery. Like Banburismus, Turingery was all about pattern recognition. It involved analyzing the cipher's output, identifying subtle patterns and using them to deduce the settings of the machine's wheels.
It's amazing how he could see these hidden patterns, these faint whispers in the chaos of encrypted messages.
It was a testament to his analytical mind, his ability to connect the dots and see the bigger picture, and his work on the Lorenz cipher wasn't just about breaking codes. It had a profound impact on the development of computing as a whole.
Hold on, are you talking about Colossus, the world's first programmable electronic computer?
You got it. While Turing wasn't directly involved in building Colossus, his work laid the groundwork. Think about it. Turingery and the statistical approach of Bambarismus, which he honed on Enigma, heavily influenced the thinking behind Colossus.
So his ideas were creating ripples, sparking innovation in a field that would eventually transform the world.
Exactly. Turing was like a catalyst pushing the boundaries of what was possible with technology. But amidst all these incredible achievements, we can't forget the personal side of Turing. He wasn't just a brain in a jar churning out algorithms.
Right, he had this fascinating way of de-stressing. Didn't he love long-distance running, like marathon-level running?
You're absolutely right. He was an incredible athlete, running to clear his head and escape the pressures of Bletchley Park. Imagine that after cracking Nazi codes all day, he'd unwind by running a marathon.
That's a level of stamina I can only dream of. Talk about a high-performance mind and body.
It speaks volumes about his discipline and resilience, this ability to compartmentalize and channel his energy into different pursuits.
And speaking of resilience, let's talk about the impact of Turing's work at Bletchley Park. Historians believe that breaking Enigma might have shortened World War II by years and saved countless lives.
It's impossible to quantify the exact impact, but the intelligence gleaned from decrypted messages was invaluable. Think about it. The Allies could anticipate German movements, plan strategic counterattacks, and make informed decisions that ultimately helped turn the tide of the war.
So Turing the Codebreaker, the mathematician, was in a very real sense a war hero.
Absolutely. His weapon was his intellect, and he wielded it with remarkable skill and dedication. But as we've seen, Turing's story is a complex one, full of triumphs and tragedies. And unfortunately, even after contributing so much to the war effort, he faced terrible injustice in the years that followed.
It's heartbreaking to think about the discrimination he endured because of his sexuality, a stark reminder of the prejudices of that time after the war. His sexuality was deemed a security risk, leading to the loss of his security clearance and his work with GCHQ and the forced hormone therapy. It's a dark chapter in history.
You're right. It's a tragic reminder of how society can fail its most brilliant minds. But amidst this darkness, there's also a glimmer of hope in recent years. Turing's legacy has been re-examined and celebrated, culminating in a royal pardon and the Alan Turing Law, which has helped to address some of the wrongs of the past.
It's a reminder that we can learn from history, acknowledge our mistakes, and strive to create a more just and equitable society. And in Turing's case, it's about recognizing and honoring the incredible contributions of a truly exceptional individual.
Absolutely. Alan Turing's story is one of brilliance, courage, and resilience in the face of adversity. He was a visionary who shaped the world we live in today, and his legacy continues to inspire and challenge us.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the extraordinary life of Alan Turing. In the previous parts, we explored his wartime heroics, his code-breaking brilliance, and the impact he had on World War II. Now we're going to shift gears and delve into his post-war years.
It's a period marked by significant contributions to the development of the modern computer, his groundbreaking ideas about artificial intelligence, and his unexpected journey into the world of mathematical biology.
It's amazing how, even after all his wartime achievements, Turing didn't rest on his laurels. He continued to explore new frontiers, pushing the boundaries of knowledge in multiple fields. It's like his mind was always searching for the next challenge.
You could say that curiosity was his driving force. He was fascinated by the potential of these new computing machines and their ability to not just crunch numbers, but to potentially mimic human thought processes.
And this fascination led him to the National Physical Laboratory, or NPL, where he embarked on one of his most ambitious projects, the Automatic Computing Engine, or ACE.
The ACE was one of the earliest designs for a stored program computer, a concept that revolutionized computing. Turing envisioned a machine that could store both data and instructions in its memory, allowing for greater flexibility and programmability.
It's like he was laying the blueprint for the computers we use today. But I remember reading that his work on the ACE was met with some resistance and bureaucratic hurdles.
Unfortunately, yes. The secrecy surrounding his wartime work made it difficult for him to fully explain the basis for his design. This led to delays and frustrations, and sadly, the full version of Turing's ACE was never actually built during his lifetime.
What a missed opportunity. But even though his vision wasn't fully realized at the time, a smaller version, the pilot ACE, was constructed in his absence and became operational in 1950.
And that's the remarkable thing about Turing's ideas. They had this enduring power. The pilot ACE proved that his design principles were sound and paved the way for future generations of computers. It's like he planted a seed that continued to grow even after he was gone.
It's like he could see the future of computing even when others couldn't. But Turing's post-war contributions weren't limited to hardware. This is where we see his ideas about artificial intelligence really take shape.
In his seminal 1950 paper, Computing Machinery and Intelligence, Turing posed a fundamental question that continues to intrigue us today. Can machines think?
That's a question that philosophers and scientists have grappled with for centuries. But Turing didn't just pose the question. He proposed a way to potentially answer it, the now famous Turing test.
The Turing test is a thought experiment, a way to assess whether a machine can exhibit intelligent behavior that is indistinguishable from a human. Imagine a human judge engaging in conversations with two hidden entities, one human and one machine. If the judge can't reliably tell which is which based on their responses, the machine could be said to have passed the test.
It's a fascinating concept, this idea of a machine fooling a human into thinking it's another human. But back in Turing's time, the technology to actually create such a machine was still far off.
Exactly. But Turing was thinking ahead, exploring the theoretical possibilities of artificial intelligence. He was asking profound questions about the nature of intelligence itself and whether it could be replicated in a machine.
It's mind-blowing to think that he was laying the groundwork for a field that would eventually revolutionize everything, from how we search for information to how we interact with our phones.
And his insights continue to be relevant today. The Turing test remains a benchmark in the field of AI, sparking debate and pushing researchers to develop ever more sophisticated systems.
It's a testament to the power of his ideas, how they transcended his time and continue to shape our understanding of technology. But Turing's intellectual curiosity didn't stop there. He also made surprising contributions to a field that might seem completely unrelated, mathematical biology.
This is where we see his love for patterns and his ability to connect seemingly disparate fields. Turing was fascinated by the question of how patterns and shapes develop in nature, specifically in biological organisms.
It's a far cry from code breaking in computers. So how did he apply his mathematical mind to the realm of biology?
He was particularly interested in morphogenesis, the study of how biological patterns emerge, like the stripes on a zebra or the spots on a leopard. He proposed that these patterns could be explained by a system of interacting chemicals that react and diffuse, creating these complex formations.
It sounds like something out of a chemistry lab, not a mathematician's notebook.
Exactly. But Turing used his mathematical skills to create models that showed how these chemical reactions could give rise to these intricate patterns. He was essentially applying a computational lens to the world of biology, a groundbreaking approach at the time.
And his models were more than just theoretical constructs, weren't they?
Absolutely. Turing's calculations predicted the existence of oscillating chemical reactions, which weren't experimentally confirmed until the 1960s with the discovery of the Belousov-Zhabotinsky reaction.
It's another example of Turing being ahead of his time, seeing connections and possibilities that others couldn't. And his work in this field continues to have relevance today, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Recent studies using chia seeds have actually provided experimental confirmation of Turing's models of pattern formation, proving that his insights were not only groundbreaking, but also remarkably accurate. It's like his legacy keeps unfolding, revealing new layers of brilliance even decades after his death.
It's a truly remarkable story, a testament to the power of a curious mind and an unrelenting spirit of inquiry. But tragically, Turing's life was cut short, and his final years were marred by injustice.
It's heartbreaking to think that someone who contributed so much to society was persecuted because of his sexuality.
In 1952, he was convicted of gross indecency and subjected to forced hormone therapy, a truly horrific punishment that had a devastating impact on his physical and mental health. 2 years later, at the young age of 41, he died from cyanide poisoning.
The circumstances surrounding his death are still debated, but the official inquest ruled it a suicide. It's a tragic end to a life that was filled with so much brilliance and potential.
It's a stark reminder of the dark side of history, how prejudice and intolerance can stifle even the most brilliant minds. But thankfully, Turing's legacy has been reevaluated and celebrated in recent years.
The royal pardon he received in 2013 and the subsequent Alan Turing law, which retroactively pardoned others convicted under similar discriminatory legislation, were important steps towards acknowledging the injustice he faced.
And today he's recognized as a true icon, a pioneer in computer science, artificial intelligence, mathematics, and even biology. His face graces the British 50-pound note, a symbol of national pride and recognition.
His story is a reminder that we should celebrate diversity of thought, embrace those who challenge the status quo, and never forget the lessons of the past.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the life and mind of Alan Turing, from code breaking to computing, from artificial intelligence to mathematical biology. His impact on the world is immeasurable.
He was a visionary, a pioneer, and a reminder that even in the face of adversity, the human spirit can achieve incredible things.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Alan Turing. We hope you've learned something new and been inspired by his story. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.